In the top stories, cruise tourism resumes in St. Kitts Nevis with the arrival of Seabourn Odyssey. Jamaican experts support medicinal use of magic mushrooms, and a lack of truck drivers leaves UK supermarket shelves empty. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Thursday, the 22nd of July 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, cruise tourism resumed in St. Kitts and Nevis on Thursday with the arrival of the Seabourn Odyssey. The vessel is anchored at South Friars Bay in the vicinity of the Carambola Beach Club. According to a press release issued by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, in an effort to ensure the safety of nationals and residents, a number of protocols have been put in place. They are as follows. Access to Carambola by the general public will be restricted or limited to mitigate any risk or interaction with international cruise visitors. Visitors will only explore the destination via fully vaccinated, travel-approved bubble tours. Local tourism employees interacting with cruise passengers, including but not limited to ship agents, port staff, taxi and tour operators, are required to be fully vaccinated. Passengers and crew are not permitted to interact with the general population. Tour operators are only allowed to transport cruise passengers from the dispatching site directly to the attraction, and after the tour, directly back to the ship. The following attraction sites and tours will not be accessible to the general public during the hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the cruise ship day. They are Brimstone Hill Fortress and National Park, Carambola Beach Club, Carabel Batik, and the St. Kitts Scenic Railway. According to a tourism official, the Seabourn Odyssey will be making weekly stops in St. Kitts. The interministerial committee that was established to deal with the issue of street vending in Basseterre continues to carry out its mandate to address the health and safety issues of all involved. That's according to Chair of the Interministerial Committee, Austin Farrier, who was speaking during his appearance on Working For You on Wednesday.
The committee was formed because there were some concerns about the safety and the health of the citizens, not citizens, but the pedestrians, especially in Basseterre, because of what was happening. It was unorganized. There was a lot of chaos when you had persons who were not only setting up where they feel like, but also not asking any questions.
Mr. Farrier explained that within Basseterre there are formal traders as well as authorized and unauthorized street vendors. He noted that St. Kitts and Nevis is modernizing, therefore it's important to make provisions to accommodate street vendors. He added that the cabinet gave several principles to be followed in the process.
One of the principles were everyone has the right to make an honest living. That's one. The other one is that we had to protect micro entities. They were the most vulnerable of the businesses. Another one is, if we have to relocate persons, what are the details to make these areas enjoyable for both the users and the customers coming there? And the last one is, are there any legislative changes needed to be put in place to ensure that what happens in Basseterre right now doesn't happen again?
The Interministerial Committee comprises persons from various government ministries and departments, including the Ministries of Health, Tourism, Finance, and Justice and Legal Affairs, as well as the Police Force, Development, Control and Planning Board, the St. Kitts and Nevis Inland Revenue Department, and the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. In other news, the police have charged 26-year-old Patrick Howell Jr. of Cane Garden, Nevis on Tuesday for the murder of Travis Clark and for the offenses of robbery and larceny, which were all committed on Friday. He was also charged for the offense of escaping lawful custody, which occurred on Sunday, July 18. Howell has been remanded to Her Majesty's prison. An autopsy was performed on the body of 36-year-old Travis Clark on Tuesday by resident pathologist Dr. Adrian Nunez, and Dr. Nunez concluded that death was due to hypovolemic shock as a result of multiple gunshot wounds. According to the police, sometime after 3 p.m. on Friday, July 16, Officers responded to a reporting of a shooting incident, and upon arrival, they found Clark's motionless body lying in the road. Investigations have revealed that the victim was sitting on a step in the Happy Hill Drive area when an armed assailant, who has since been identified as Howell Jr., pursued him and shot him several times. Clark ran and eventually collapsed. He died at the scene. Additional reports indicate that Howell Jr. also threatened a female driver who was also in the area and took possession of her vehicle, in which he made his escape. We now move to news on the regional scene. The psychedelics industry is on the rise in Jamaica, and according to some medical experts, it's expected to generate economic activity, further boosting the country's wealth. Robian Williams reports for CVM Live.
There is growing acceptance of psychedelic drugs coupled with psychotherapy for treating with a variety of mental health disorders, including anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress. Psychedelics are a class of substances that produce changes in perception, mood, and cognitive processes. Magic mushrooms are among those soothing plants. Douglas Gordon, founder of Canex and CEO of Silo Wellness, a functional mushroom company, says Jamaica has the opportunity to play a pivotal role in the growth of the industry.
With the foreign investment, with clinical trials, with product development, it offers an opportunity to really ramp up and get out there and position the country accordingly.
Gordon notes that debunking the myths and negatives of mushroom usage can only come by way of public education.
The ability to sort of step in and live the most fulsome version of yourself is what psychedelics promise. They allow us to reinterpret some of the traumas that we've endured over time, and that allows us to have more use of who we are. That allows the person that we are to be its most present self.
Psychiatrist Dr. Winston Delahaye refers to psychedelic treatment with psilocybin as a new frontier in psychiatry. He, however, warns that it is not a silver bullet and it is not recommended for unsupervised use.
Definitely, this is not one of those things you do at home. This is not one of those things you do without supervision. It's a process done in a clinical setting, well established, set and setting, meaning your mindset on the whole issue and the setting you allow yourself to be in a guided therapeutic way is of critical importance.
Dr. Delahaye is advocating for the development of a regulatory framework to govern the use of psychedelics in Jamaica. Robian Williams for CVM Live.
In Grenada, the protest continues against forced vaccination by non-vaccinated workers who are sent home with no pay. Workers at Sandals have now joined with the workers at St. George's University to protest for what they claim is their right to work. GBN News filed this report.
Sandals Resort's non-vaccinated workers have joined the forces with the non-vaccinated workers at SGU as they all protested in the south of the island against forced vaccination. The Sandals Resort workers said they too were sent home by their employers with no pay. Chelson Miller, a diving instructor at the resort, said they were told that if they don't get vaccinated, they are not allowed to come back to work and will not be paid off for their years of service.
Yeah, because we're not going to sit back and be told that, hey, your hotel is going to be delisted, so you have to vaccinate 100% of your staff, and then tell the staff that, hey, you guys need to be vaccinated, and if you don't want to be vaccinated, you're going to go home and stay home without pay for 3 months. And after the 3 months, it'll be like you forfeit your job. So don't come back. We feel that's threatening to the highest level, that's victimization to the highest point, and we're not going to stand for it.
All the workers, along with supporters, gathered at a bus stop near the Sugar Mill roundabout with their placards and music to enlighten the public on their fight. Miller believes that with the joint forces of SGU, their voices will be heard.
Today, we decided to make a stance to fight for our rights because we feel that we are being victimized. We feel that we have not been dealt with fairly in terms of our positions at Sandals, the Sandals workers that's here today especially. And we think if we join forces with SGU, our voices would be heard a bit easier or louder.
Meanwhile, it's been 2 months since the non-vaccinated workers at SGU have been protesting for their cause. One SGU employee, Raleigh Duncan, says that with no pay, the financial situation they are faced with is not of the best. But this will not deter them from speaking out and fighting for what they believe in.
Right, we are moving to the parish of St. John on Friday. We are taking this right around the island. If we realize the government and the powers that be, they are the ones that is moving swiftly towards having persons vaccinated. Right? We are not, as I said, against vaccination, but vaccination should be a choice.
The workers are calling on everyone to join the protests and support the cause. For GBN News, I am Rena Pett-Thomas reporting.
Internationally, across Britain, there are gaps showing up on supermarket shelves because of a crisis in the food supply chain. The problem is a shortage of truck drivers, compounded by the pandemic after Brexit, as new drivers from Europe can no longer come to work in the UK as easily as before. Many went home during the COVID pandemic and have not returned. Tadek Enright reports for Euronews.
Summertime should be the season of plenty. But social media users in the UK are complaining of empty supermarket shelves. These pictures show where there are problems. Of course, it's not everywhere, but major retailers such as Sainsbury's and Tesco are warning they're unable to keep all their shops stocked in the way they'd want.
Some store managers I've spoken to have seen their number of deliveries decrease over the course of a week. So where they might have been getting 5, 6, 7 deliveries a week, that might have gone down to 4 or 5. Tesco's already noted that it's had some issues with food waste because it can't get it through the system fast enough. I think we'll see lots more of these types of issues in the weeks and months ahead because there's such a shortfall of truck drivers, and that will take a long time to remedy because there's thousands who need to be trained.
It's estimated the UK has 100,000 fewer truck drivers than it needs for a long list of reasons. Because of Brexit, new drivers from Europe can no longer come to work here easily. Many went home during the pandemic and have not returned. And while the country was locked down, the training of new drivers stopped. The government solution? Changing the rules to allow drivers stay on the road for longer.
The problem with extending drivers hours is you're making drivers who are already tired more tired, and that doesn't make for safer roads. We need to be encouraging some drivers who have the qualifications but simply aren't driving to come back into the profession as a sort of emergency measure. And yes, we would like to see European lorry drivers allowed back in, add them to the shortage occupation list, and or give them short-term visas to come here and work.
And industry leaders say it will get worse unless the government allows more truck drivers to come and work here from overseas.
As crews battle fires in British Columbia, Canada, their efforts are being hampered by theft of equipment, drones being illegally operated in fire zones, and people getting in the way of planes trying to collect water. Karen Pauls has this report from CBC News, Vancouver.
Crews near Nelson, British Columbia are battling these fires, but they're at a big disadvantage. Twice in less than 2 weeks, their firefighting equipment has been stolen.
It's immensely disappointing that, people within our community would go out and do this.
The first theft involved hoses and sprinklers set up to protect a property. In the second, someone broke into this storage trailer, stealing $40,000 worth of pumps, chainsaws, and generators.
It's not like you can easily come by this equipment or just jump on Amazon and go and purchase it.
That's one extreme example of how people are hindering firefighting efforts. Recreational boating is another problem, like this speedboat pulling people on tubes in BC's Caribou region.
There's the fire behind DECA, and yet we have tubers on the lake. When asked, please stay off the lakes.
Just minutes earlier, in that very same spot, a helicopter was picking up water from the lake. It's not the only place this is happening.
The fire started at the base of that mountain.
Last week near Vernon, search and rescue teams were called to get boaters off Kalamalka Lake.
There's a formation of 6 aircraft coming down and picking up water, dumping it, and then just going through. But there's so many people out in the lake getting in the way.
Another issue, aircrafts were grounded after they spotted drones in the air.
And to see all of a sudden everything go away and the fires just pick back up very frustrating.
Anyone caught operating a drone that interferes with fire control could be fined up to $100,000, be jailed for up to 1 year, or both.
Keep out of the way of aircraft. Keep out of the way of the crews. Let them do their job.
Because Mother Nature is throwing enough at fire crews without humans making it worse. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Vancouver.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows cloudy skies. Winds are a moderate breeze of 13 miles per hour from the east-northeast. The temperature is 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 4 to 6 feet. The weather forecast for today and tonight will have cloudy spells with a 70% or high chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:47 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow at 5:47 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.